Okay, I think I'm up and rocking and rolling finally. I'm hoping. So, it looks like it. Now, I've got about a 20-second lag on here, so I'm going to do my best. I'm actually going to pull out, I'm going to pop out the little messaging board because I would love to hear from you guys. Can you see me now? I think I finally got everything working. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened before, but everything kind of crashed on me. So this is what I'm going to do. I have a whole bunch of stuff that was, once again, associated with that last round. I'm going to see if I can still pull up all the fun polls and everything that I made. I love technology and I enjoy doing it, but sometimes there's lots of fun stuff that gets in the way. So let's see here. Let's see if I can. I'm going to go ahead and activate a poll. And see if you guys can take that poll for me real quick. I'm just going to ask a couple of questions, and I'm going to kind of run from there, right? So the question is, what do you do for yourself in the sense of goals? Do you use goals? Do you use standards? Do you use sprints? Do you use resolutions? And I apologize if this has a little bit of a lag to it. I will be working on changing my resolution this next year. Excellent, you can hear me. See in here now, 5:47. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to squeeze all of my information in here over the next 15 minutes. Promise it's going to be worth your while to stay and hang here. Can you guys see that poll? It looks like some of you are taking the poll now. So some of you are doing new standards, some of you are doing goals. So one of the things, let's see if I can get my stuff to work. Now, last time it did not want to work, but I think it's going to work for me today. Let's just go ahead and I am going to pop this one on and turn this one off. And we're going to go like this. And we're going to transition. Can you guys see my screen? Let's see, where did you go? All the fun of learning new stuff. Okay, so it looks like it's not showing you my whole entire screen, so I'm going to shrink it down here. So hang with me for just a minute while I work on the technical details. I promise, like I said, it's going to be worth it. Okay, so this is my screen. And can you guys see my screen okay? Can you see the new screen? Awesome. Thank you, Shirley. Okay, great. So the technology is finally working. Woohoo! All right, so what this is here is this is my fun little thing that I was going to share with you last time. So the idea is how to make effective goals, standards, and or challenges that will stick with you through the new year. And we're going to describe a couple of things. Now, for time's sake, I'm going to kind of peruse through this and hit really key important points in about a 10-minute time frame. So a couple of things that are really important here, okay? We all have this idea of what we want to accomplish for the year, and there are varying different ways. Some of you were here last time, some of you were not, so I'm just going to quickly go over a couple of different things. First of all, let's see here, I'm going to zoom out. You can kind of see some of my working boards that I've been working with. So goals, oftentimes, again, there are different contexts in the way in which we put what we have our desires in as we look for the past and we look for things that we don't like and or we didn't want and or something we want to improve on. So goals are going to be one of those things that it's like a container for us, right? Are you able to see my screen here? Can you see goals, standards, commitments, sprints? You're not going to see the whole screen. I know I'm on about a 20-second delay, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to keep talking, but Shirley, if you could mention whether or not you can see that. The general idea here is this is a program that allows me to just kind of throw my thoughts together, and it's an app called Miro. So I'm not going to go into the details of it, but this is how I think, everybody. And I'll tell you, my one of my office members, they think it's totally crazy, but this is how I think. So this is how I'm trying to organize some things. So goals, really important. They help you look forward. Standards, I kind of like to look at those as a way of kind of, it's more like this is your new way of living, right? You're committed to this relationship, whatever. Challenges and sprints are going to be specific ways in which we achieve goals or do for short periods of time. So we're going to bump up here, actually. This apparently I'm out of sorts here. So we're going to go back to here. One of the most important things that we all need to understand that is, can you see it in focus now, Shirley? One of the most important pieces is understanding that when we think of goals, when we think of our new standards, it's really important for you to understand that if you cannot visualize, if you can't see yourself accomplishing something, the chances and the likelihood of you actually accomplishing that are going to be very, very small. Now, the importance of that is to recognize that Paul Blanchard said it best. He said, the number one cause of doing too little is trying to do too much. So oftentimes what happens is we either do too much or we're trying to do something that we can't see ourselves achieving, right? So you can see over here this idea of doing too much, right? So for many of us, we probably are not going to be able to go and lift these heavy weights, right? So let's talk about something that's probably near and dear to your heart. Something like maybe weight loss or a certain health component of your life, waking up in the morning, reading, those sorts of things. Are you able to see it enough, Shirley? So here, let's do this. So again, we're working on the learning curve. So doing too much is something that I see too often, and or and I can go into this in another time, but there are varying things that happen that we overload our system, or we just stop and we don't do anything because we're like, I can't do that, and so we don't. Right? So one of the things that's really, really important is to understand how much are you trying to move. Now, how many of you could do these little 2-pound weights, right, in comparison? Now, let's see here. I'm going to try and go back here for just a moment to my next poll. Thank you for taking that. Most of you look like you're doing goals. Okay? And I'm going to activate the next poll. So while I am doing that, I'm going to pop that back up on the screen here. So the general idea is oftentimes what happens is we actually get too much and we don't, and we overload, right? And I like to look at that like this concept and idea down here where the question is there a charge on the topic? Oftentimes, for example, weight loss or going to the gym or eating or whatever that is, there's oftentimes a charge on a particular topic that we're experiencing. And what happens with that charge is that makes it very difficult for us to interact with that particular thing. Many of us, myself, being a closet perfectionist, have a tendency to, when we go and try and do something, if we can't do it to perfection, if we can't do it exactly the way we want to do it, which is totally ridiculous and unrealistic as a human being, then we just don't do it. And or we don't realize that anymore. For my own self, speaking on my own self, what ends up happening is I face a situation, and even in microseconds, faster than you can blink an eye, I feel a certain emotion that, well, I'm just not going to be able to do this to the ability that I need to, and so therefore I'm going to distract myself with something else, and then my inner critic comes out and starts to destroy that process for me. Now, there are a lot of different ways in which we look at goals, right? Some people break it up like this. This was a really good one that I found the other day, right? So the idea is this guy had it set up where he did daily to-dos, 2-week sprints, midterm goals, bucket list, funnel of goals. Now, I have a particular way that I'm going to share with you guys, but these are just some interesting things that happen. Now, oftentimes what happens, like I had mentioned before, where if we're in a situation where we are overloaded, we're in a situation where there's a lot of charge, oftentimes we'll get stuck. Like we're stuck in the snow, right? Or we feel really down. Let's see if this is going to kick me back in the wrong direction. And so oftentimes what will happen, and this was a quote that came out the other day on our Facebook page, and it said, "Don't let fear hold you back. Dealing with stress is better than living with it." So these are the sorts of questions that you want to ask yourself when you're faced with a situation where you can tell that there is charge on it. And so one of the next components to this is then to ask yourself, as you are working on this idea, if you can see it, the question is then, how do I achieve it? How do I keep going? And one of the real big keys here is accountability. You can see friends, family. Another big one too, okay, is to recognize that if we're going to set a goal, right, it needs to be achievable, specific, attainable, measurable. Okay, those are really important components. Now, oftentimes what happens is when we talk about this idea, again, of being stuck, feeling down, right, depressed, like myself, and self-sabotage, we have a tendency to get stuck. Now, just like this idea here where we can see that, if you're trying to push a vehicle yourself, that's going to be very difficult to do. But if you have a setup like this where someone's actually helping you, then sometimes that's just what we need, because not all of us have the capability to move a car, if you will, right? And that's going to be where help is really, really important. So technically speaking, this could fall into any particular category along the way. It's just really important for you to understand these are some of the common things that tend to happen here. So again, as we kind of go back up here and we go back to this idea of accountability, once we have the thought in mind, what we want to accomplish is we have sat down with ourselves and looked at the past and realized that we need a little help. Well, that's family or friends, right? That's a really important piece. Now I'm going to quickly go back and check the areas where you guys set your goals. Now, relationship goals. Now this is so interesting, right? Relationships, quite frankly, for me, are one of the most important pieces, and actually they are the most important piece for me. And so that's where the majority of my goals are at. Yes, I have some financial goals and things like that, but relationships are what's most important to me. So I went ahead and threw another poll up there. I'd love for you guys to participate in that. I'm almost done with my content here, so I'm only covering the things that I feel like are very, very important for today. So when setting goals, what do? Do you tend to keep the goals to yourself? Do you tend to share with one other person in passing? Do you tend to write them down on a piece of paper? Do you then tend to write them down and share them with others to keep you accountable? Now we're going to go back to where we were here. Okay, and as you fill out that, the next piece, right, so we talked about accountability. Where are you at? So the next piece that's very, very important is the question of what are you doing once you have a thought and you told somebody about it, and or you have an idea and you're ready to move forward with it. Well, I love this little picture and this depiction of one of the things you see at the grocery store on a regular basis, and this is this little thermometer, right? This is a measurable goal, right? Usually there's money on here, and once you reach a certain goal, it goes to the next place, to the next place, to the next place. Having a measurable goal to be able to track your progress is an essential component of being able to move forward, and a step that a lot of people really get stuck in. Now, there's a couple of things as we move to the next one, okay? I have had my front desk staff make me up one of these little charts here. So if it's not going to look exactly like this, it's got a SMART component to it, and then it has a 1 month, 6 month, and 12-month goal on it. It's easy to write out. If you would put a little comment in the comment section that you would like to have a copy of this goal sheet. That way I know when I come back and look at this video, I know who to send those to. That would be great. But you can see here, This is going to be a great little thing, right? This is one of my favorite ones that I came across. And this little quote at the top says it all, right? Anyone who's ever made a resolution discovers that the strength of their determination fades with time. The important thing is not that your resolve never wavers, but that you don't get down on yourself when it does and throw in the towel. Now, I'm not even going to try and say that a name for today's sake, but this is a beautiful way of setting goals. This is one of the sheets I found online, right? To be specific. What outcome would you like? To be measurable, as we've talked about. How will you know when you've reached it? Is it attainable? On a scale of 10, how confident do you feel? Okay, is it relevant? How meaningful is this goal to you, right? If you're setting a goal that you're going to paint 100 houses, but you don't paint houses, that's not relevant at all. Timed, okay? Putting this in the context and the frame of when there's going to be a time frame involved helps you create a sense of urgency. As human beings, we have a tendency to lose time references, okay? Now, again, I put a little note here about the reminder that things get in the way. All right, and those things that get in the way, like we talked about, there are going to be a whole bunch of different things you can do. I'm not going to go down to the details, but when you feel stuck, remember it's really important to get help, okay? So we're going to go back to the sheet here, and then the last piece that's very, very important is to understand that celebrating your successes, no matter how small they are an essential component of not only being able to move forward, but it's very important that you understand as you celebrate your successes with those people that you've worked with, that you are literally rewriting your brain, that the dopamine inside of your brain, the same thing that your reward center, which is focused on it or works from this idea or this concept you may have heard of, dopamine in the brain, a neurotransmitter, you're getting dopamine hits. You're rewriting your brain when you celebrate these successes. Okay. All right. So I am going to go ahead and finish up with a little quote here, and it's super awesome. And it says, this is something Natalie, my wife, shared with me, and it's really great because it really kind of sums up today's message. And it says, affirmation of the day. Oh, and before I do that, you know what? I'm going to read that here in just a second. Pause the poll. Let's see if it's going to let me do one more poll. I want to do one more poll with you guys, and then I want to also ask you a question because this has got on a 20-second delay, and I'm going to finish here in the next 2 minutes. But I'd like to ask you guys a question. I am considering doing this maybe consistently for a little while, if nothing else, to help me kind of organize my thoughts and help me focus. So if you're interested in having me maybe do a 15-minute session once a week or every other week, I'm thinking that I'm going to actually move it to Monday nights at like maybe 5:30 to 5:45. If that's something of interest to you, I'd love for you to make a little comment over here in the side. It's going to be a similar context to what we did this evening, but it's going to be a little more refined as I work out the kinks, of course. So this is what I want to leave you with today as we talk about goals, as we talk about the way in which we want to be able to move forward this new year. Of course, my favorite is, you should know, all of you should know that generally speaking, and I've quoted this before, but this is a really good quote, that generally speaking, I'm a healthcare practitioner, and what I do focuses on helping people be well, right? So the general idea is my thought process, and I'm going to have you guys see me here for just a minute. My thought process is to recognize that the majority of people's health issues come from emotional connection, or lack thereof, I should say. And so most people have been in a stress response for many, many years. 70 to 90% of the majority of people's health concerns come from attachment injuries, from lack of being nourished in relationships that lead to physiological disturbances, meaning they get disease, they have heart disease, they have digestive issues, they have hormone issues, they have thyroid issues. The majority, in my experience, why I put so much emphasis on this is the majority of what I see in my own clinical practice is that the majority of people's illnesses come from an emotional component. Now, I'm going to go back to where I was to finish this off, okay? And say the affirmation of the day. My relationships nourish my soul, and finding wisdom within contributes to me feeling whole. And so some action steps that go along with that. And this goes right along with the whole goal idea, right, for the new year. Talk to a close friend, spouse, or relative about your true hopes for this year. Ask them to share with you their goals as well. Together, make a list of the things you will achieve and make a commitment to checking in with each other monthly. So that's that time frame piece. This conversation will bring long-lasting blessings to you both. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, my clinical experience, that has taught me specifically that as you work on your relationships, as you work on, yes, some natural health care things, so things like diet and movement, those are essential to you being well also. But where the majority of people's issues come from at least from chronic disease where I see people, is it comes from lack of connection and or stressing about the connection in one way, shape, or form, where then you burn out all of your resources. And once your resources are burned out, then systems start shutting down. When systems start shutting down, things start to go haywire and you get sick. That's where people end up showing up in my office. So that's what I want to leave you with today. If there's anything that I can encourage you to do, it's to make a commitment to connection and to set a time frame in which you're going to be checking in with that commitment. Again, thank you all for coming today. It's been great to have you all. And I'm going to go ahead and end this live now. Love to see, let's see here. Was there any other comments here before I left? I apologize. Copy of the quote. Yes, Shirley. I will see if we can paste it up on the Facebook page. All right, you guys. Wonderful to have you this evening. I appreciate your participation. Let's see here. Monday nights are not good. So I am going to maybe put a poll up, and or I will send a poll out to everybody in an email if that works better for you guys. Because I'll be honest, Tuesday nights rock my world. I have therapy on Tuesdays, and I'm pretty trashed. And so I'm usually a little tired on Tuesday nights. So Tuesday nights are not going to work for me. So the other option is Wednesday night. I'm going to go ahead and we'll put out a poll in an email and see where we get time-wise. But I'm going to start doing this regularly. So I would love for you to make a comment and or send us some emails about some specific topics that you'd like me to cover, and I'd be happy to cover them. Okay, thank you again for everybody for participating today. This is